Well, we're really excited to be part of this project because we donated the radiant floor heating system, the Pex Plumbing system, the snow melt system, and we have an amazing control called the Climate Control Network that's allowing all these systems to talk to one another. So that was our part of this Vision House project. The house is pretty complicated. It has 27 zones, and on top of that, you have many different mechanical systems. So we want to bring in, for the sustainability purposes, we have solar, we have geothermal, we certainly have boilers, domestic hot water. You also have your snow melt application. And each one of these things generally, especially when you think of boilers or geothermal, they have their own control systems, but they don't necessarily talk to one another. So Uponor has come up with a control called the Climate Control Network. And this network acts, as I said, almost like a translator or a bridge to allow all of these systems to speak to one another and determine what has priority, determine what comes on when. So it's a way to simplify a pretty complicated system. Throughout this home that is, as we know, the green and sustainable vision that they have here, and it's, again, working with a very efficient delivery system for the heat. The radiant keeps it so the warmth is where the people, your pets, your furniture is, as opposed to being lost up in the ceiling area, and you don't need to pay for unnecessary heat up there. So it's the ultimate in comfort. I don't think there is such a thing as a luxury home without radiant floor heating, and it's the utmost in comfort. And as I mentioned to you, it's controlled by the Climate Control Network that allows all of the sort of mechanical systems to talk to one another, both on the wet side, which includes domestic hot water, the boiler, geothermal, and solar, as well as a forced air system too. The snow and ice melting system is the same premise as radiant floor heating. Basically what you're doing is you're taking our cross-linked polyethylene, also known as Pex tubing, serpentining it underneath the floor, for example, in a home, radiant floor heating, and you put warm water through it, and it just a gentle, consistent warmth comes up through the floor. Makes for that warm feet, cool head environment, which is the ultimate in comfort. Well, if you take that same premise and you take it outside for areas such as Aspen, Colorado, you can serpentine the Pex tubing underneath your pathways, your driveway, maybe your seating areas, your decks, and you put a little bit maybe warmer water and some glycol in there, and you can heat it so that it melts the snow and ice. And these systems can be controlled in a multiple of ways. They can be manual, they can be automatic, and so you know, in a residence, I would say to you it's very, very nice to have, but in some situations, especially in commercial, in Colorado, all the ski areas, there's lots and lots of snow and ice melting where they don't want to have to deal with the ice and the salt and the sand or the plowing, and maybe there's American Disability Acts that they have to comply with, and this allows them to put a lot of big areas of snow and ice melting in. The difference is very often they have waste heat, and so it makes it pretty efficient to be able to warm the water with the waste heat that will then melt the snow and the ice. We did Pex Plumbing as well. You know, Pex Plumbing instead of copper or CPVC. We have a terrific system which is using, again, that very durable, reliable, and very flexible Pex tubing, which allows you to cut down on the fittings that you might need. You don't have to make so many right angles. You can bend around corners, but you can do a very neat, good installation that also can be, if you happen to be using an Uponor logic sort of thinking, you are pre-planning your plumbing. So that it's the most effective use of running your lines and placing your manifolds so that you get hot water delivery much quicker than maybe some of the conventional forms of plumbing. And might I also add that we also have our proprietary ProPex fitting, which takes advantage of the ability of that tubing to expand and always wanting to go back to its original shape. So you expand the tubing, pop the fitting in, and that it always closes down around that fitting to make a really reliable fitting connection, which doesn't need any solvents or any glues, so it's a really good way to go. Pex has been out there and used in plumbing systems here in Europe for 40 years, so it's not a new product. It's been around for a long time. It is very resistant to aggressive soil and waters, and it's a very reliable product that I think, you know, many years of testing have proven that to be the case. And if you have contractors and plumbers who've been using it, generally once they go to Pex, they don't really go back. I mean, copper and the systems before have done us well, right? We've come a long way in our building, but it's a continual evolution, and I think Pex is the way that people will see it's current, and it's also the way of the future.